Alright, hey guys, so this video is sort of referencing the past video we did that had to do with the ambient lighting install on our truck, and I kind of misled some of you guys. We initially went off of the cigarette 12 volt for our power, and then for me, you know, when I have my key in the ignition, it turned the ambience lights on. When I take the key out of the ignition, the ambient lights turn off. Now that was a setting that I had set up in my ForScan years and years ago, and I totally forgot that I had done that. So I just took it as you guys all had sort of the same setup as I had with that 12 volt cigarette source that we tapped onto for the ambient lighting, thinking that it would do the same for you guys, because I totally forgot that I had made those setting changes in my ForScan. So I went ahead and I found a power source that actually works out better than what we had done previous in the video. So I'll get right into it here, you guys, and then hopefully this will make more sense as we go through the video. Okay, so stepping around the truck here, I got my windows rolled down just so you guys can see easier. So obviously all the lights are off right now, all the ambient lighting. And then the moment I open the doors, they turn on now. So I mentioned in my last video that if someone wanted to trace out that voltage source so it does that, you know, feel free to. I felt like I owed it to you guys to go ahead and do that, as I kind of goofed on this last video, because we had previously had it so that our ambient lights were powered up through this guy right here. So if you take this cover off, like so, we are tapped into this guy right here. Now, anyone that, let's say, followed my instructions on the first video, you aren't doing a lot of rework because everything stays the same. You're not rerouting your actual ambient lights. That can all stay the same. And if you tap into the negative for this guy, like your ground, that's a common amongst the whole truck. And if you always have a power, you can find your ground anywhere. So we can use the same ground here, which we are for the ambient lighting. And then, so now you can see the lights went off by itself because the doors stayed open too long. So that's kind of what you want. And they come on when you open or close the doors. And then obviously when you have the key, and now they'll stay on with the truck. So now everything should work almost like the OEM factory lights in terms of how they operate. Coming on and off with the doors being closed, ignition, all that good stuff. So what you have to do to change that is very easy. Find yourself a cable, a wire. You only need one. So it can, like, this is a 4 conductor cable that I had lying around. I'm almost not using these, and these other ends aren't attached to anything, so there's no need to just, like, if they're a little bit bare like that, that's not an issue. So we're only using the one wire, and this is for our 12 volts coming back to our there we go, our 12 volts coming back to our power source. So if this confuses any of you guys, go watch our last video on the ambient lighting, and then come back to this one. And this one is basically just showing you guys a different way to route the power, because the way we had it before, apparently this cigarette lighter will turn off after 75 minutes of inactivity on the truck, basically. So they would eventually shut off. It would just take a very long time, because that's what the ForScan, like the vehicle factory programmers. So I don't think these are a constant 12 volt source. I think they turn off after like 75 minutes once you to turn your ignition off on your truck. So don't quote me on that. But that's sort of what I've read and what I found out. But because I had switched this in my ForScan, it turns off immediately after I have the truck on and off. Anyways, so see how the lights come on every time now. So basically what I did to find this voltage source was I started looking around. Like, I knew I had, this was an easy route to run the cable, and like it was very easy to get the cables from here back to over here. And like I said, watch my last video if this doesn't make any sense to you guys, and then come back to this one. But I basically found a harness right up here So now you can see I tapped off onto that. So if I unplug this harness here, come on, there we go. Okay, so I took my voltage tester and I found out that this right here, these two brown cables right here going into that one slot right here, that was a ground, so that's my negative. And then I just took my meter and I started tapping a bunch of these little metal strips until I found like a good voltage source that did it with like the doors open. So I won't get too much into it, guys, but basically this little gray wire here, which sits right on the corner there, this is the voltage source you want. This is 12 volts. I'm not too sure what this wire does, like in terms of like the actual function on the truck, and I should probably figure out what it does, but the LEDs are such a low amperage and we're just stealing the voltage from here. It won't have any major consequences going down the road. So especially what you should do, and I will do it yet, is put an inline fuse in my lighting so that if the lighting buggers up, it's not going to take out whatever's in this circuit. So this is where I found my voltage source, so you guys can use exactly that. So I will just go ahead and put this back on here. And yeah, like I said, you should have to take the glove compartment down. Very easy to do. And then just to put it, and then we just gotta put it back up here. So see how like there's like the two tabs? You just gotta push these tabs in. I'm gonna push the one over here in. There. And now just like that. So we ran the same wire, the same way we ran the ambient lighting. So here's our ambient lighting wire right here. And then right here, this little gray wire, that's our new wire that is tapping off that relay that's up in here. So this wire runs in the exact same path as our ambient lighting. It runs, you can just see it right there. That's the cable right there. So it runs in this trim, underneath here, and on the ground all the way back to the back of our center console, and then tied it in with our power adapter that's down there for ambient lighting. So go back, watch the other video, you guys, and then take these two videos and combine them together, and you'll have this perfect setup for basically OEM lighting. And I should have done this right off the bat. I apologize that I didn't. I was very happy with the way my lighting was just before, just having the moment you have the ignition on, the lights come on, the moment you have the ignition off, the lights go off. And I didn't want to, I thought this would be easier for everyone to understand than trying to explain, hey, like get a ForScan tool, get the ForScan software on your laptop, and then go through all that. I think that's too complicated, so I wanted to make sure that you guys, you had this all working the way it should. So I took the extra time today to trace out a good wire and a power source, and now I'm going to use that. I'm actually abandoning the old way I had mine, and this is the way I'm going to do it now, because I think it's much better. I think it's much better with, so I'll lock the truck and then these will turn off. There's gonna be a slight delay on them, and then they turn off. You probably just heard my subwoofer turn off too, because it's, I guess, referencing the same sort of signal. And if I unlock, I'm gonna just click the unlock on my keys, and you hear my subwoofer again. So I don't have my subwoofer hooked to a remote wire. I have it hooked to a signal. So basically, whenever there's a voltage, like it's using like the speaker signal, basically. I guess when you unlock your vehicle, open your doors, the speakers technically turn on, which sends a voltage to, signal to my amp to turn on. That's why you hear that kind of that deep bass sound. It's just my amp turning on. So put that back on. Everything is back to normal. We're gonna lock the door again. Actually, you know what? We'll leave it unlocked, and then we'll wait for the light to turn off here. And then we'll go ahead and open the door, and then it turns on. So there you guys go. Same as the OEM setup. Still $30. And these diodes should last a long time, so you shouldn't have to worry about them burning out. Like my last ones lasted 3 years before I had to replace them. And if you're really lazy and you don't want to repull, all your wires, assuming that your little power box for these lights are always going to be good, you can always just cut your wire here. Like if you get new strip lights, because let's say these all burn out, you can buy the new strip lights, cut your wire here, and then just tap your new, so here's the wire here. So you can always cut it here, strip it, and then cut your new ambient strip light, and then just do all your attachments here, and the same for all four corners around the vehicle. Now, I wouldn't suggest that because it is easy enough just to run all four ambient lightings. Like it took me an hour just to replace all the lighting, but that is up to you. So I do apologize, guys, for sort of that misleading information in the first video. I will label this one Ambient Lighting Install 2.0 and the other one 1.0, just so or part 1 and part 2, just so it's a little bit more clarity on that. But I'm glad that we got this issue fixed, and now it's very much like the OEM look. I should have taken this effort the first time around. So I hope some of you guys find this video after doing the ambient lighting install, and then this answers all of your questions that you may have. Any other questions, you guys, feel free to leave it in the comment section, and I will always answer your questions. Especially if you guys are stuck on something, I'll be there. So I appreciate you guys for being here. Sorry again for the mess up the first time around, and I hope you guys enjoy this mod on your truck as much as I do.